All right. Hello, everybody. If there's any background noise, I apologize. We got some sawing going on out front, so again, apologize for that. What I wanted to get into, and if you guys have any questions in particular or whatever, go ahead and jump right out. But one of the things I wanted to cover today is the keyword research project that I've been working on, and I've hoped to have had it done by today, but as you know, life gets in the way, and I've been getting interrupted in the process, and it's a very large process. When I started out, I don't remember at this point, but I think I had like 50,000 keywords, and it was crazy how many keywords are in there, and also how long it's taken to actually sift and sort through it. It's been quite a project. So anyway, I wanted to get into that, and even though I'm not done, I wanted to show you the process and what it is and what I'm actually uncovering. Keep in mind that keyword research is part of analysis, and it's important that this stuff is done in the beginning because it can open your eyes to a lot of opportunities. And that's one of the things when you're creating marketing and you're building conversion and landing pages and all of that stuff, even products and services, it's really important to know what the market wants and how big the market is. And that's part of being viable, figuring out if the market is even there. Because the last thing you want to do is spend all your time and money advertising to a market that doesn't exist. That's where you get very low conversion, you get very high ad spend, and you wind up running out of money and nothing happens. And it's a horrible thing that a lot of people experience. They see the internet marketing crowd and they see results that are maybe true, maybe not, maybe fabricated. Really easy to create fake stats using Photoshop. Now, I'm not saying anybody's doing that, but it certainly would seem such, in many cases. I've seen a lot of people that roll out these programs one after another, and they're showing, outrageous results from something that's supposedly just new. They just created it. So I'm not really sure how that works, but anyway, the reality is, if you went to an ad agency or you went to any kind of marketing company, a real marketing company and a real ad agency is going to be very expensive. The reason it's going to be very expensive is they're going to do all this analysis. They're going to do the work. It's a lot of work really to get this right. There is no easy button. There's no magic button that you can hit and just make a booming business. It just, you might have had that happen, and I can almost guarantee you it's not repeatable. Sometimes we just get lucky. Sometimes you fall into something and everything's aligned and it all works right, and that's great. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. But things change, things shift, and if you don't know and you don't realize what was making it successful to begin with, when it shifts, you're not going to know how to shift with it. So it's really important that you get these fundamentals down, and research is a huge part of that. If you're doing active research, you should always be doing this, by the way. Any business, the ebb and flow is going to change. Keywords that people search are going to change a lot of times by season, a lot of times just by time. Things change as we go through life. New events happen, news happens, new technologies happen, and people shift gears. If you're in the sales business, sales are done very differently today. Not to say that the human interaction part is any different, because it's not, but the technology certainly is different. Imagine if you were still the sales guy that did cold calling, and that's all you did. You had to follow up with cold calling. you know, and you weren't using email, you weren't using text messaging, you weren't using all the things that are at your fingertips that are available to you. Imagine what those sales guys would have searched for back then. You know, I'm talking even before the internet, so they wouldn't even be searching. They'd be looking in the yellow pages. But what would they be looking for? You know, they'd be looking for better sales scripts. They'd be looking for phone systems. They'd be looking for auto dialers. You know, all that stuff that was the big thing for them back then. But what if they stayed there and they didn't change? They didn't see markets emerging. They didn't see the change of their consumers. You know, their consumers, I don't know about you guys, but how do you like answering your phone with somebody that's soliciting you, cold calling you? How do you feel about that in today's day? You know, it's not very well accepted. So if you're that guy and you're doing that still, I'm really sorry, but business is probably very hard. You know, there's a lot of other ways to prospect now. Bringing your message, getting people interested, and having them call you. That's a much better way to go about it. So anyway, that's why we do research. And keyword research really, to me, it's always been the backbone of SEO, but it's a little different. Whether you're doing keyword research for SEO or pay-per-click, it's very different what you're looking for. In SEO, we're looking for large volumes of traffic on keywords that will convert with low competition. That's really the golden goose. If you can find that kind of a keyword in SEO, that's worth going after, because it can bring, you know, the volume of traffic at an affordable price that you can convert. So that's the metric. That's what you're looking for. That's the golden goose, like I said, for SEO. Now, if you look at pay-per-click, those metrics change. What you're looking for in pay-per-click is you're not looking to spend a ton of money. So you're not looking for keywords where there's, you know, huge high volume searches that have the high conversion, because everybody in the industry, they know that. They're all competing for it. They're going to drive the price up through the roof. So if you have, you know, high converting offers and you have a back end that you can make huge profits on the back end, then and only then can you play that game. But most of us are not in that world. We don't have offers that are ultra high converting, and we don't have back ends that are, you know, ultra profitable. Now we should, I'm not saying not to do that, because that's absolutely what you should be doing. But most of us, the reality is we don't have that yet. So that means we cannot and should not play that game. You know, if you talk to somebody like you know, Ryan Dice, Perry Belcher, the guys from that world, they know the value of a back end. They don't care about the front end. They can lose money on the front end. Most of you guys can't. Most of you guys don't have a back end robust enough to make that up to where you can become profitable after a certain amount of time. If you look at Agora Publishing, they're a perfect example of this. They're $1 billion online company. They sell $1 billion of merchandise a year. It's all info products, all info marketing. They can lose money on the front end sale up to 6 times the monthly income for whatever it is they're selling. The reason they can do this is they know their back end is going to make it up. 6 months from now, they're going to recover their ad cost, and then they're going to be profitable for the next 6 months. So that's an investment. That is called an investment in purchasing a customer. Client acquisition. That's why it's important to know your numbers. You know, what does it cost you to acquire a customer? That's one of the metrics that's really, really important. And I talk about that in the Freedom Formula. You know, one of the first precursors to the ACT program is that Freedom Formula, and why it's so important to figure out how much does it really cost you to acquire a customer. If you don't have that figure, then we don't know how much we can spend to get that customer and still become profitable. Really important you get that figured out. Once you figure that math out, and I know you know a lot of you guys that are new to this, you can't do that without some pretty extensive testing. You've got to get a a funnel in place. You've got to run ads to it. You've got to figure those numbers out. You can't just grab this stuff out of the sky. It's got to come from reality. But once you get that, then you've got the math and you've got the numbers to scale your business. You know, if you know that you can make $100 per customer that you bring through the door and you can acquire them for 50 bucks, we know we can double our money. So how many times would we want to do that? How fast would we want to scale our business if those were our numbers? Now, most people don't have those kind of numbers. Most people, the customer acquisition costs as much or more than the first sale. That's where a lot of people will turn the channel. They'll say, I can't do that. That doesn't make sense. And the reason it doesn't make sense is that they're only focused on the thing in front of them. They're not focused on the lifetime client value. You know, if that client over the next 2 years, that client might be worth $1,000. So if you're going to make $100 off your first sale and it costs you $150 to acquire the customer, is it a good deal? Of course it is. Yeah, you're going to go in the hole a little bit, but what is life all about with your money? What do you do with money? You invest it. You don't get an immediate return. It's usually a long-term thing. I don't know how many of you guys put your money in the stock market, or you give your money to a broker, or you put it into your retirement fund. Whatever you do with it, someone is managing that money. They're investing it. They're looking at the numbers on your behalf. They're looking at, you know, if we put $100 in, what's that going to look like 10 years from now? They're not looking at what's it look like today. They're not looking at what's it look like tomorrow. They're looking at what's it look like 10 years down the road. That's an investment. You need to start thinking of your business as investing, not what the return is tomorrow. So what's the long-term effect of putting this money in here now? So again, knowing your numbers, really, really important. So, all right, I think I've beat that horse to death now. You guys should know why this is so important, you know, why it's so important to do this research. Figure out what that market is so you can go after the most profitable piece of the market to get your numbers right. So,
Hey, John.
Yeah, go ahead, Lewis.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you because somehow you remember the email I sent you this week about an opportunity with agency in the US?
Yes, yes.
So in 3 days, I managed to answer the questions, and we have a schedule a meeting for the next week. And I would like to have your insights because you have, let's say, outsource SEO services.
Yes.
So what do you think they are looking for in terms of the profile? Because they're looking for a technical SEO, a remoter, and although the questions were generic, I also send them the track record with my clients. So what do you think they are looking for in my profile?
Well, probably there's two types of things that someone like that would be inquiring for. One would be they're looking to know what they should be doing themselves, so they're fishing. That's one thing, and I'm not saying that's what they're doing. The other thing is they may not know really what to ask. That might be why their questions are more generic. So they're looking to be impressed. If they actually really want to hire you, they want to know why you're different. They've probably hired other people before. They've probably not got the results they were promised. SEO is it's like a burning landmine field of disasters that most companies have been through. Most of them have hired agencies, they've hired professionals or so-called professionals, so-called agencies. And, the reality is most people that are offering SEO services really don't know what they're doing. I mean, that's the real truth of the matter. And they've been burned by a lot of those. There's a lot of agencies out there that I know of personally that all they do is they get you in the directories. They run a few paid ads. They show you that you're on Google, you're listed at the top, but it's an advertisement. And then they charge you thousands of dollars a month for SEO services that they don't really even do. So they've probably maybe experienced that. So what they're looking for is they're looking for what's going to be different when they work with you. So
Okay.
if you can, show them results, show them customers, show them, any kind of a track record, things like that. When I talk to prospects, one of the biggest things that makes them decide to go with me over anyone else is the conversation. When we talk and when I tell them what's important, it's quite contrary to what they've heard. And, when they question me about that, I'm like, well, I don't know who you're talking to, but this is the reality. This is the truth. And anybody that's telling you different either doesn't know or they're just trying to rip you off. They're not going to do what's really needed to be done. Because SEO, real SEO at this point should be fairly expensive because it's not easy. It's not a matter of, these little loopholes and stuff. It's like, yeah, those are great for 5 minutes. But if you're talking about like a commercial customer, you're going to have to be dealing with these people for a long time. They're putting their trust in you for their business for the long term, not just for today. They don't want a one-trick pony. The one-trick ponies oftentimes are really good salespeople, and they can outsell you. And those are the people you got to really watch out for. Because if you have a customer, it's really easy for them to come in and steal that customer away from you with their slick talk. Now, ultimately, long term, they're damaging. That. A lot of these little one-time tricks that they can do. Once that trick's gone, they got nothing. And then they're going to fall on their face. I don't know how many times over the last 20-something years that I've been doing this, I've actually lost a fair number of really good customers to those kind of people. They always come back. When they come back, it's usually a disaster, and I got a lot of work to do to unravel it. And, in my opinion, I think that's a punishable offense. and I actually do punish them with the price. When somebody's with me, this is something that I've done over the years. I price lock. Like, when I bring them in doing a project, I don't go back every year and try and raise the price on them. Even if it costs me more, I just lose a little bit of margin, and it's okay because I'm bringing on new customers. But I don't price gouge, and I don't go back and say, well, you're getting really good results, I should charge you more. I know a lot of guys in the industry that do that. They get you hooked in, and then they go back and they hold it as ransom. And they say, well, if you don't want to do it with me anymore, I'll just pull the plug and I'll just ruin you. And I just think those kind of people should be taken out back and shot.
The point of the, let's say, the test is like they send me a lawyer side.
Okay.
It's a big family of lawyers. The business is all over the US, but the branches are in most of the states. It seems like they have done a little bit of SEO, and no bad SEO. I mean, schema with the lawyer, coding, very good interlinking, that kind of stuff. I didn't do an in-depth analysis,
Okay.
but the point is that, well, they asked me some question, and some of them were like from the strategic point, and the traffic is growing in the SEM rush, and I think it is a very good brand, because just for the brand name, it's like more than 50,000 searches a month.
Okay.
So it is a big brand, and that's why I am a little bit skeptical, because I've never been in this situation before.
Yeah. Now, are they looking to hire you as like their agency to do all of their SEO, or are they just looking at you for like supplemental work for SEO?
In theory, the offer is technical SEO remoter.
Okay.
But they're looking for technical, but they ask me for almost everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that might just be a case of they don't really know how to define it. They're not very sophisticated on it. And it sounds like they've done their, their on-page SEO. It sounds like that's been addressed. But the big thing on SEO is going to be the outside links coming in. Those are going to be important. And the fact that they're relevant links bringing actual traffic that is having a good user experience. That's like the creme de la creme of SEO at this point. So that's what you need to focus on, as being an outsider, bringing that to the table for them. That's probably the stuff they don't know how to do. So, and you want to be careful of telling them too much of exactly how you're going to do what you're going to do. But
that's the offer I'll share with you.
yeah. So that's one of the things that you've got to be careful with, especially if they're in that first class I was talking about, where they're just fishing for information to put their in-house team to work. And I've seen that quite a number of times. It's a pretty common practice. But yeah, so be careful in how much information that you give them about how you're going to do what you're going to do. You want to give them the overview. You want to tell them what's really important without telling them, the steps in doing it. So we've got several customers that they're constantly up my butt wanting to know exactly how we're doing what we're doing. And I'm like, that's not what you're paying us for. When you go into Colonel Sanders, they're not giving you the recipe for the chicken. They're telling you, there's so many blend of herbs and spices. They're not telling you what the blend is, so you can go home and make your own chicken. So that's, how much do you think it would cost if you went into Colonel Sanders and you said, I'd like, a thigh and a drumstick and the recipe for the chicken? Yeah, I don't think it'd be $5.99. I think it would probably be, more like $500,000. So keep that in mind as well. You never want to really reveal exactly what you're doing. I'm probably one of the only guys out in the entire industry that actually does that for you guys. I tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. So you can do it, so you can make a living at it. But when you're working with clients, you want to hold that close to the chest. It's an industry secret, so to speak. I'm not one to be big on secrets, but you've got to protect yourself. It's like, when you have a patent, you try and protect the patent, because you don't want everyone else to come and steal it from you. In SEO, it's really kind of a cutthroat deal, because inside people are, they're being very secretive. They don't want to tell you anything, but they want to steal all your secrets. I've seen that in a lot of the SEO masterminds. You've got a bunch of guys in there that don't really know what they're doing. They're hoping for, the people that are actually being successful to take and steal everything they're doing so they can now be successful too. That's one of the things I've seen. I've been to several, supposedly high-end SEO masterminds where you've got 50 people around the table and maybe 3 of them know what they're doing. The rest of them are there grabbing the information and turning it into ebook products that they can sell. That's why I stopped going. I stopped going to those groups. The information that I have, it's only available to you guys. That's it. I don't share it outside. I don't speak publicly about any of this stuff. So anyway, so that's it. And I can look at if you go ahead and if you send me that link, I'll take another look at it and see if there's anything else I can glean off and give you advice. Or if you have any other specific questions about that, you can just shoot me over an email, and I'm happy to help any way I can for you. All right, so anybody else before we get back into the keyword research? Anything else? Anybody got anything you gotta get to here? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here, and I'll show you. We'll get back to what I was talking about there with the keyword research, how important this stuff is, and how deep I went into this dive. I went pretty darn deep. Like I said, I don't remember the exact amount of keywords I came up to, but it was somewhere around 50,000. And I ran specific searches. You can see all the different searches I did here, like client plus acquisition and a phrase match, full search. All these searches came out of SEMrush, by the way. I was exporting the data in Excel, and then what I did, you can see all of these, like internet marketing course, internet marketing course. That's actually a copy. That's a duplicate. Let's see here. Lead generation, learn digital marketing, learn online business, marketing automation. What I did, every time I would run an initial search, I would look at the results real quickly, and I would see what keyword was showing up a bunch in that, and then that would lead me to my next search. So that's what I did. I spent like half a day doing this. And you can see there's quite a few. SEO training, start an internet business, video sales letter. There's a ton of different phrases that I ran here. And then what I did, I opened one of them and I started merging all of the others to it. And basically at the end of the day, I had like 50,000 keywords. And the reason I did that, the reason I merged them all, was first of all so I could deduplicate it. Because a lot of these searches, they're half duplicates of the next one. And some of them had unique stuff. Some of them had phrases that went across the board. So that's why I did it the way I did it. And then what I came up with ultimately was this document. And like I said, I've been working on this for several weeks. I was hoping to have it done for this week, but it just didn't happen. As we know, life gets in the way, and I've had quite a few things pop up in the middle that kind of derailed me. But you can see where I'm left at here is I'm on line 4,444, and what I'm doing, I've got the search box up here, the find box, and I'm looking for stuff that has advert in it. So when I click here, here's methods of advertising, methods of persuasion in advertising. And what I'm doing, I'm taking everything that has to do with advertising, I'm copying it, I'm going over to the advertising tab, and I'm pasting it in there. And then I'll come back over here and I'll delete this out. So I'm reducing this list. This is my main keyword list of everything. I put it in here, I deduplicated it so it was all unique, all individual. Like I said, there was about 50,000 to begin with. And then I created tabs across the bottom. And these are the tabs. I'm creating these buckets to sort and sift this into different landing pages. Because as you know, in pay-per-click advertising, you want to advertise a certain group of keywords to a particular landing page. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. I've identified, the majority of the major groups here of what I'm finding in this list. Some of them I'll use, some of them I probably won't. Like I've got car sales here. I don't have any interest in going after specific, people that are looking to do car sales. But it's a group, so I'm sifting the group so I have this for anybody else. Like startups, here's a list of startups. There's 3,079 so far of people that are startup type of keywords. These are people that don't have businesses yet. This is what they're searching for. So I can go in here and I can learn the people that are searching for this, what is it that they're interested in, so I can create an effective landing page. Remember, the creation is based on analysis. So when I create a landing page for these people, I'm going to know what they're interested in. I'm going to know the language. I'm going to know what they're searching for. I'm going to know how to talk to them. Now, one thing that's really, really interesting about this, and I'm not used to seeing this because I in the past, I've not done keyword research in this way. I'm usually doing it for SEO purposes. But what you've got in the columns here is you've got the search volume and the cost per click. Now, in normal circumstances, like SEO, for instance, I would sort this by search volume, and I would throw out anything, say, under 400, 500. I would just eliminate them because it's not big enough for me to focus on for SEO. The other thing I would do is I would eliminate all the ones that had a high cost per click, because I'm not going to compete and I'm not going to kill myself paying top dollar to get leads. So cost per click, that again in SEO, that shows you high relevance. If people are paying that much, it's probably a good keyword. So again, I would separate those out, and if there wasn't enough competition, if competition was low and pay-per-click was high in SEO, that's a good thing. But here, again, I'm doing this for pay-per-click now, so it's almost reversed. So I don't care how much the search volume is. Look at some of these that have 0 cost per click. There's no one competing here. I don't care if there's only 30 people. I'm only going to pay for the ones that click. So if I get 30 and I find, 1,000 of those 30s, I've got 30,000 people that no one's paying attention to. I can cater to those people for a very minimal ad budget. There's a lot of zeros here, guys. Here's one. How do I start an internet business? I'm not going to pay $68 a click. But, some of these, like documents to start a business, 10 people a month. They're paying $5 a click for that. Look at the difference here. Documents required to start a company. The same 10 people, it's a 0 cost. No one's bidding on that. They didn't do the research. They didn't figure out people are searching for variations. They're going after this one. They're beating it up. There's probably a bunch of competitors here. There's 0 competitors. 0 for that one. So again, it's a different metric that I'm looking for, and I'm finding an absolute treasure trove. All of these questions, these are all pre-business questions. This is somebody that's doing research to try and start their own business, probably for the first time. So if you had something, let's say a course on how to start a business, how to identify the most profitable business to start, how to eliminate all of the landmines in starting a business, you would absolutely have a treasure trove here of different people that are looking for stuff. And like I said, this list is, it's over 3,000 long. You know, here's a misspelling of a, of a search phrase. How to up website. That's probably how to set up a website. 70 people, nobody paying attention. How to use internet step by step. That's probably not so good. That's probably somebody that's not looking to do business. Again, how to use online. They're not all great, but that's the thing you gotta look through. Future profitable business, 50 people a month, very low competition and nobody paying for it. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find the golden nuggets in here. And that's what keyword research is all about. You can see all the different tabs down here, and I haven't even got to all of them yet. What I'm trying to do, you see there's a lot of these about courses. These are perfect for me to sell the ACT program. That's what I'm doing this research for, is to see what my opportunities are to sell ACT. So you guys should be doing the same thing. You should be going back, creating different Excel spreadsheets of keywords based on the keywords in your industry, whatever it is that you're selling. You want to figure out every possible search variation for that and everything related to that, and creating, a jumbo keyword file here. And then you're going through, like I said, the next step to the process is to go through and sift it into the different silos. And again, this is for pay-per-click. So I'm trying to create my keyword groups here. These would be keyword groups to advertise pay-per-click advertising on Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Now, once I get that keyword group together, I'm going to look through that specifically. I'm going to pick out the winners, and I'm going to have the keywords that I'm willing to advertise to. They're going to be the very low-cost keywords. They might not have a lot of people searching for them. It might be 10, it might be 30. Some of them, you'll find where there might be a few hundred, and nobody's paying attention. And anyway, I'm going to create those groups, and then I'm going to create a landing page based on what that group is all about. Again, this is for conversion. If I speak the language, I'm going to convert better. If I understand what they need, what they're looking for, I'm going to convert better. I'm going to make a better offer because I understand what they want. So that's what this is all about. And this is, like I said, this is a long process. I talked a couple of weeks ago about, yeah, you could outsource this, but the outsourcer, they're not really looking at it through your goggles. Your goggles are going to be very important, especially when it comes to the final sift and sort. You can get them to do some of the monkey work, like you can get them to, merge all your data, deduplicate it for you, look through and figure out, what the main target groups, the main clusters of keywords, create your tabs for you. They can even sort some of them into the tabs. But I'll give you an idea of why you might want to do a lot of this yourself, is because there's going to be little variations of this that they're not going to look at. They're not going to be concerned with. A $5 an hour employee in Philippines or in India, I guarantee you they don't think like you. If they did, they wouldn't be doing that job. They would be competing to take yours. So that's why when I say this, it's important for you to, to go through this. And, I'll show you an example of that. Like right now I'm on advertising. I'm working through the list. I'm down to 4451 here. There's some keywords that were related to advertising that I didn't pluck out of the list because they had to do with something specific to another keyword silo that I want them in that one, not in this one. If you just take everything related to advertising and you dump it in the advertising bucket, you're going to be missing out. Like, for instance, my main thing is people that are looking for courses and classes online. So if I go back and I start at the beginning looking at advertising, you can see some of the ones that I left in. Advertise courses. I did not pull that out, throw that into the advertising folder. I left it here because I want that in the courses folder. When I create the one where people are actually looking to learn something, that's going to be a different group. That's going to be different landing pages. So advertise courses. There's 10 people a month looking, nobody catering to them. It's too small. I'm going to create a bucket for that. I might have 100 of these that only have 10. So collectively, that's 1,000 people a month that I could hit with next to nothing ad budget and take them to a landing page that is highly relevant, that would convert very well. You see where I'm going with this? I'm creating a loophole. So that's the difference in this type of keyword research. Like here's one here, advertising and marketing courses, 10 people a month. There's somebody out there willing to pay $34.97 for that click. I don't want to compete with that. I want to go for the ones where nobody's paying attention. Nobody's looking. I'm going to go in and I'm going to steal a candy and nobody's going to know I was even there. So that's what I'm talking about when I say, you should be doing this instead of outsourcing this. Really, this is intel. If you have someone else do that, they're not going to be able to tell you that intel. You're going to learn that as you do this process. And this is probably, of all the stuff that I do, this is probably one of the most painful, is the keyword research. It is a pain in my ass. But every time I do it, I gain so much insight into whatever market I'm looking at. It's absolutely invaluable. It makes me a better marketer. It gives me the tools and the knowledge that I need to actually do the job. So, if you're going to hire someone, who would you want to hire? You want to hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know your market, doesn't know what the needs of your market is? Or you want somebody that's actually got that insight? And again, your $5 an hour outsourcers, they're not going to gain that kind of insight from doing this. All they're doing is they're spending their time to create a paycheck. They're just following, the numbers. They're not thinking. They're just sifting and sorting. They're just going by the numbers. And remember, I've always talked about a lot of this has to do with intuition. A lot of this has to do with interpretation of the data. And again, you're not paying them $5 an hour to interpret your data. They'll collect your data for $5 an hour, but you need to be the one to interpret that data if you want to be really effective. So again, you can see all the different folders. I've got one for acquisition. This has everything. And again, a lot of these don't say acquisition. It's like obtain new customer. I know that's about acquisition. So again, would your outsourcer be able to determine that? Would they be able to get that little nuance? I doubt it. So, a lot of these are about acquisition, sales and acquisitions, sample acquisition strategy, subscriber acquisition cost. Look at all the zeros on the pay-per-click. There's a lot of stuff here. User acquisition and now analytics. 70 people a month looking for that. Nobody catering to it. Now, in some cases, the fact that no one's advertising can mean that it wasn't profitable for them. But what I'm looking at is it probably means they were lumping it into another group that wasn't working because they weren't being specific. They weren't converting. It didn't work because of their strategy. Look at this. New customer acquisition, 110 people a month and zero competitors, zero dollars on ad spend. So, is that a good keyword for me? Probably, yeah. I could create a landing page for new customer acquisition and probably convert very well for those people that are looking for that keyword. New account acquisition, same thing, only 20, but again, nobody doing it. Member acquisition, membership acquisition strategy. There's a whole bunch of these that I could group into a category, or a keyword list, silos, so to speak, and create landing pages. My hopes is to get these all into these folders, and then I'll take each one of these and I'll sift and sort them again and create specific landing pages within acquisition, specific landing pages within advertising, specific landing pages within courses. And each landing page is going to have the keywords that are absolutely specific to that landing page. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a very, very different strategy than I've ever taught before, because most of the keyword research I've taught in the past has to do with SEO. Now we're talking about doing it in paid ads. Very, very different strategy.
Hey, John, I have a question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
When you see the different phrases that people are using, you can kind of guess what they're saying. But if someone puts up if you see a keyword that says advertise strategy, and what they're really asking for, and below that a couple lines is advertising and marketing strategy, that's a really high-priced pay-per-click. If you see like a what I'm trying to ask, if you see something that's grammatically not correct, like advertise strategy, when you set up the ad, do you use that same kind of broken grammar to do exactly that, advertise strategy?
I would use it in what I want to purchase traffic for. Like for anybody that types that into Google, I would have a specific landing page for them. Now on the landing page, I'm not going to match their grammatical errors. I'm gonna make it correct on the landing page. But in the advertisements, like in Google AdWords, you can do a replacement. Like you can put a replacement in your ad where their keyword actually plugs into that replacement. So I might do it there because it's mirroring what they're actually typing. But a lot of times when people type, they're lazy. They make mistakes, they make grammatical errors, that's stuff that you can take advantage of. But what they mean, like what they type and what they mean in their head, could be two very different things. So you got to kind of understand that. If you look at voice search, this is a very interesting thing that's come up with voice search. When people do a voice search, it's very different than when they do a keyword stroke search. When they're actually physically typing on the keyboard, their keywords will be different than if they vocalize them. You'll find that when they vocalize search, it's much more conversational. Like here, they might do, new business acquisition might be the keyword they type in. But if they were to do that keyword search vocally and do voice search, instead of new client acquisition, they might say, how do I acquire new clients? Because they can say it, there's no effort in it. But instead of them typing out, how do I acquire new clients, they'll just do new client acquisition when they physically type it. So that's another thing to understand is keyword research needs to be based again on intuition, on how would you take these terms and turn them into the conversational version of itself. Because a lot of times the conversational versions don't have enough searches in Google to even show up on the radar. Like several years back, I was actually at Google out in Mountain View, and above the doors, they have these ticker tapes that are running constantly 24/7. And what they are, it's live search. It's what people are actually searching live, and it's running across the screens like at lightning speed. And I sat there for about 20 minutes one day and just watched what people were searching, and it blew my mind. The search phrases were so obscure, and it's not anything you're ever going to see that comes up in keyword research, because not enough of them will search. You know how every time you add a variation, you add, a multiplied factor of what the odds are that would ever show up. So what you're seeing here, when a keyword phrase shows up like 10 times, that's enough to show up on a keyword research project radar. But how many long tail variations are in voice search now that there's not even enough searches for that exact specific to show up? So that's what I'll do, is I'll take these keywords and I will put those variations to them, because I know they're out there. I've seen it, and I've seen under the hood. I know, all the different kind of weird variations that people actually search for. They are there. They do exist. So pretty cool stuff.
So you use when in the ad then, or in the keyword, when you're doing ads, you use the not grammatically correct, but when they hit the landing page, you'll make an assumption of what they're talking about and use the cleanup language.
Correct. Yeah. And in my landing page, I want to be, grammatically correct to the point of it's their language. Like if they have slang and things like that, I have no problem using that. If I know they're very laid back and they're not technical and they're not like, college professors and stuff, they're more of like, the Midwest, I will speak their language. I'll use y'all. I want to be in their native tongue. And that includes the grammar and the slang of their area. I will absolutely do that, because that's like mirroring and matching. That makes them comfortable. Because if you're trying to make a sale, that's one of the things. They've got to like you. They have to trust you. And if you speak their language, that's a big step in that direction. If you're an outsider, you're going to be really hard to gain their trust. So if you're speaking, at a college level and you're not using their native tongue, like you're not speaking in y'all take care now, you're an outsider. You don't resonate with them, and they have no reason to trust you. You're like the Slick Willie high dollar city salesman. They don't feel good about that. They don't trust that. So in the aspect of, I will use grammatically correct in that aspect on the landing pages. I will assume what they want and I will put it to them. Because keep this in mind too, when people are searching, they may not know. They may be down in the pyramid of awareness toward the bottom, where they're really unaware of what to ask. So they might just be poking around. They're trying to learn. So your landing page wants to educate them. It wants to teach them the language so they can be an insider in this thing that they're interested in or that they want. So that's a really key component of that. You want to speak their language to teach them yours. That's really, really powerful stuff. I see your question about SEMrush, the monthly cost. I believe it's like $69 a month now for SEMrush. I've got it. I think I pay $49. I'm in a grandfathered thing where I've been in it for years. But I believe their current cost, I think it's like $69 a month. I can tell you it is, of all the research tools, it is by far my favorite. I will never give that one up. It is so useful, gives me so much insight. Like for competitor research, I can pull up a competitor and I can know almost anything about them in seconds using SEMrush. I can see if they're advertising, I can see what their ads are, their headlines, I can see what keywords they rank for. All that stuff, you know, for that price is pretty much a deal and a half. So that's a great tool. SEMrush is really invaluable. As far as the searches, it's a monthly volume. So when you see 10 searches, that's 10 searches per month. So 2.5 per week on that particular term. Now, again, I don't really care about that in pay-per-click because I'm only going to pay if someone clicks on it. So if I see, you know, a keyword group where, you know, they're only searching 10 per month, but yet I've got 100 of them, that's 1,000 people a month collectively that I could take advantage of that no one else is catering to. I can make the perfect landing page for them, and I can be the only option. I can be the only one that shows up. That's pretty cool, you know, and I can bid the minimum amount. And in Google, I think they might have raised it. It used to be like 5 cents. I know it's not 5 cents anymore. I think 10 is the minimum. But somebody had told me that they thought it might have gone up to 25 cents. But, you know, anyway, between 10 and 25 cents, I can buy that traffic. And again, I only pay for who clicks, so I don't really care how low that number is. If I've got a converting page and, you know, I can get people to click on it and they really don't have another option, and I can bring them in, I can gain their trust, I can, you know, educate them. In that education process, what I'm doing, I'm building demand and desire for my offer. So I'm going to convert. I'm going to convert at a much higher ratio than anyone else that's not doing that. So it's a pretty awesome thing. I really, again, I've never done keyword research this way, and it's really an eye-opener. There's a lot of phrases that are not being catered to. So lots of opportunity here. Anybody that thinks there's no opportunity left in paid advertising, I just proved you wrong. There's a lot. This is live. I've been doing this for the last few weeks, so this is not something that's, you know, like 5 years old. This is right now. This is still working. So pretty neat stuff. Let's see. Chris says you're making this 5,000 plus list now. No, this was a 50,000 list. You know, when I put it together. Let's see. He wants to know, once it's done, how often will I go back and redo the entire process in order to see if search trends have changed? For me, I'm pretty lazy. I don't really know. I don't really have the answer to that. What I'm probably more likely to do is once I get these silos and I see which ones are working very well, like maybe client acquisition, I might find client acquisition to work really well. I might go back and I might do more keyword research just based on that and not any of the other criteria. And I might try and sharpen the sword. But really, I mean, marketing is an ongoing thing. I don't think this is something that you ever just give up. And it, you know, it's like I said in the beginning, you know, if you get stuck and you don't change and you don't look and you don't see what's going on in your business and behind the scenes, it's probably going to disappear right out from under your feet because things change. I mean, think about where I would be today if I was still a high-end professional special effects photographer. That industry doesn't even exist now. There are no special effects photographers that's all they do. That's gone. That was what I did. You know, in 1985, I opened my studio, and I was very, very successful at that because no one did it. It was high dollar. It was something that a lot of people really needed. There was a huge demand for it, and nobody to supply it. But then Photoshop came out. Had I not seen that and recognized, uh-oh, things are about to change, and had I not done that, I would have had no reason to shift into the internet. I wouldn't even be here today, you know. who knows where I would be, but I don't like to think of that because I don't think it would be good. So keyword research is a good way to kind of keep your finger on that pulse. So anyway, any other questions here? Before we close out for the day. All right. Okay, guys. Well, have a great week, and again, do your keyword research. It's not going to be fun, but it's going to be very worthwhile. So we'll talk to you next week.